Welcome. Welcome. Please stand while Mr. J. Lee leads us in prayer, followed by the pledge.
Father, we, thy sons and daughters, gather here this evening and give great praise unto thee for the many wonderful blessings which we enjoy in our lives. We're grateful for the time we had to come and meet together in this school board meeting. And we pray, Father, thy Spirit will be here in abundance. Bless those who are here to be able to make these decisions. They might be guided by thy Spirit. They might be able to make those decisions that will benefit the young people of this community and help us all to be able to do what is right. We pray, Father God, bless the children of our school district. Bless them with health and bless them with the abilities to be able to learn those things which they need to, that they might be successful in life. We pray, Father God, might bless the parents and the teachers and all those who work in the school system, that they might be able to be safe from harm, that they might be able to continue to do those things that will help make our children better and brighter for their future. We love you very much, Father, and pray thy Spirit will help us to all do what is necessary, that we might be able to glorify thee in all that we do. This we ask in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Monday, April 15th, 2019 school board meeting. Board members.
It's the sound system.
We'll check on it. Is everything all set?
Are they
All right. Excuse me. Welcome to the Monday, April 15th, 2019 school board meeting. We will be pulling 5.4 under items for consideration, extra summer hours. Are there any other changes to the agenda, board members? Public comment, agenda.
Do we need to pull 5.2 until after we decide if there's going to be any cuts, and if there are, what they'll be?
Dr. Pickles, would you like to answer?
5.2 are our teachers and instructional that are guaranteed a position without having to go through a rift. If you're going to go through the reduction in force, these people have a job regardless. So you're going to have to go through the reduction in force to get rid of the people that are on that particular list. So you would have to cut these people. So there are continuing in our annual that have been here more than 2 or 3 years. So these people that I'm recommending are going to be guaranteed a job. To get rid of these people, you will have to do a reduction in force to get rid of those folks that are on this list.
So are you saying we will have them here? They're entitled to a job, but they may not be in that position?
Yes.
We'll have to get that perfectly clear. In other words, there are long-term people.
Correct.
They will have a job if they so desire, but that does not guarantee they'll be in that position.
That's correct. These are our teachers, our continuing, our professional, our annual that have been here more than 2 to 3 years, and then our non-instructional that have been here over 2 years, because that contract was changed 2 years ago. Well, it was when I was on the board, so it's been 3 years ago the contract was changed for a non-instructional. The probationary period went to 2 years. So these people are not the probationary people. So,
any other questions for Dr. Pickles?
Well, one
Mr.
thing,
Reeves?
Madam Chairman, if you've got someone with that's on this list, it is not that they are guaranteed a job. If you do a reduction in force, you can reduce enough positions to where someone on this list might also.
That's a possibility.
So it's a possibility. So it's not. So the reduction in force this would not preclude you from doing a reduction in force.
Right.
You would have to go through the reduction in force.
Right, but I just wanted to make it perfectly clear that doesn't mean they'll be in that position.
That's right. Well, or any position.
Or even
if
any
no,
position.
wouldn't cut enough.
Okay.
So you just so that that's clear.
Right, thank you, Mr. Reeves. Public comment. Agenda items. The Sunshine Law requires that the school board meet and perform its duties in public. This meeting in public is an opportunity for the board to discuss and make decisions around slated agenda. Citizens have the right to observe the meeting and hear all the comments made by board members. School board meetings, however, are not a meeting of the public, an opportunity for the public to comment during meetings. On behalf of my fellow board members, at this time, I would like to invite and encourage members of the audience to sign up regarding district issues. Please begin by stating your name. You will be limited to 3 minutes. This is your 3 minutes. The clock will not be stopped until your 3 minutes are completed. We will not be acting on the issues tonight unless they are part of the agenda. If you have a question, we will refer you to the proper person. And I want to read the board policy regarding public participation. All statements shall be directed to the chair. No person may address or question board members individually. Staff members shall not be expected to answer questions from the audience unless called upon by the board chair or the superintendent. Thank you for supporting the Madison County school system. Mimi Borpoljo. Borpoljo.
Good evening. My name is Mimi Replogel, and I am a parent of 2 current MCCS students and 1 previous MCCS student who is now attending Madison County High School. I am also an alumni of Madison County Schools and extremely proud to be a representative of this county. But what I've seen in the last few weeks from a parent perspective is unacceptable. It is not okay for what we're doing, and it's not okay to say it's for the kids. When you consider looking at a school reconfiguration where you move 7th and 8th graders or 12 and 13-year-olds into a school with your 16 and 17-year-olds, you expose students such as my oldest daughter, who is very naive and very reserved, to an environment that she's not ready for. I can tell you as a parent, had this change been made when she was in 7th grade, I'd have pulled her out of Madison County Central School faster than a cat on a hot tin roof. That's not an okay decision to make when you have an opportunity to keep the middle school kids together, where they experience opportunities like SWAT, CTE, and all of the other advantages that are there at a smaller scale to be able to explore and figure out who they are without all the other pressures that are added in when you reach a high school level. Secondary to that, my babies in 1st and 3rd grade, one of who is taking her FSA for the very first time, will follow in their sister's footsteps. They will be your 4s and 5s in the future, and I know they will be that because I'm their mother, and I see to it that they have what they have. You can believe in MCCS or not, regardless of how you do it, we will fight. We have heart. And if you take from us the middle school, I hope that you will look at the students that are truly zoned for Madison County Central School, and any student that is not zoned to attend Madison County Central School will be rezoned back to their original school. If those schools don't have services or whatever is needed, then maybe we need to consider that as being part of our problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Mimi. Items for consent. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make the motion, Ms. Gibson, to approve the consent items.
We have a motion by Ms. Dalford, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Daniels to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion or questions?
I have one question related to the technology. Is there any way that items that could be sold, are we selling items that could be sold, or?
That's what this is for. They'll be going up to an auction company to be sold.
Okay, thank you.
By a show of hands, all in favor? Oppose? Becky, 5-0. Items for individual consideration. 5.1, out-of-district field trips. Dr. Pickles.
You'll notice there are 6 out-of-district trips. There are 3 from the high school, 1 from Central, 1 from Lee, and then there's a migrant summer program. I do ask for your approval from these trips.
Is there a motion to approve the out-of-district field trips?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the out-of-district field trips.
We have a motion by Mr. Daniels, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Williamson to approve the out-of-district field trips. Any discussion or questions? By a show of hands, all in favor? Oppose? Becky, 5-0. Five point two, recommend approval of the employee recommendations for 2019-2020. Dr. Pickles?
On your list, you'll see there were 2 administrative positions. These were neglected to be put on there at our last meeting, April 1st meeting. Then there's all our instructional positions and then our non-instructional. Again, these are their current positions. This does not mean this is where they will be next year. So, and these are people that are either professional, continuing, or annual, long-term annual. So I do ask for your approval of these for the 2019-20 school year.
Is there a motion to approve the recommended approval of employee recommendations for 2019-2020?
I make the motion to approve the employees' recommendation for the 2019-2020 school year.
We have a motion by Ms. Bell, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Daniels. Any discussion or questions? By a show of hands, all in favor? Oppose? Becky, 5-0. Personnel change, 5.3, personnel changes. Dr. Pickles?
On our personnel changes, we have 2 paraprofessionals that will be coming out of IDEA. And then there's 4 resignations and 1 retirement. And there's a sub, and then there's several volunteers. So I do ask your approval of the personnel changes.
Is there a motion to approve the personnel changes?
I make the motion to approve the personnel changes.
We have a motion by Ms. Bell, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. excuse me, Daniels to approve the personnel changes. Any discussion or questions? Excuse me. By a show of hands, all in favor? Oppose? Becky, 5-0. 5.5, school reconfiguration. Dr. Pickles?
If you will look in your board docs, at our workshop, there was a lot of discussion about this. So I emailed at 9 o'clock last Monday. I did email the chancellor and the head of finance at DOE. And they sent me an email back, and then I waited, and then I called, and then called again Friday and told them I needed to try to get some further information. So you will see our projected enrollment, and then I put our capacity. So you will see the high school with the configuration that the board would like to move to. Our projected enrollment or estimated enrollment is 842. Our capacity is 833 based off our FISH report. For Central, it would go down to 703. Now, this does include our pre-K numbers for the rest of our schools. Our capacity there is 1625 or 43%. Greenville would put us at 152 or 57%. Lee would be at 247 or 98%. Pinetta would be at 250 or 112%. Oh, and I left out Lee. Lee is 247 or 98%. So I kept asking you, what do you want to do about pre-K? There's some things, if we leave pre-K at these outlying schools, it's going to require some portables. So a portable, you're looking at $100,000. So there's some other things to consider. You can take and have all your pre-K at Central and not have it at your outlying schools. But based on what you said last Monday, you wanted to keep it there. I needed to give you this. So your portable cost will come out of capital outlay. It will have to be advertised that way. In addition, it's going to require a couple additional teachers at 2 of these schools based off what we currently have projected. So we would also lower some of the teachers currently from Central and shift them up to the high school. It's also going to require most likely a portable at the high school. There's just not enough seat capacity. I did happen to call Ms. Pridgeon today. She and Mr. Eggers are trying to gather some more information because of some other situations with our district right now. And so they're not going to have the information to me till the earliest tomorrow. Right now, I need to know, does the board want to continue to pursue this option? So that's what I need to know based on this information. That's what I need to know from this board. Do you want to consider trying to move with reconfiguration?
What is the pleasure of the board? Any discussion?
I'm not interested in continuing it. Because it's not gonna benefit our county any. I mean, if it was saving us some money, maybe so, but it's not gonna save us any money. And we're trying to save every penny that we have in our general funds.
Ms. Williamson? To get a motion, basically, we're just saying we want more information. You know, that, it's not committing to anything, right, Dr. Pickles? We're just saying we'd like to have some further information, which is forthcoming.
Well, you said financially you wanted to continue going this way. I've now presented you financially, this is going to cost money. Even if the district offices move out there, there's no energy savings. So I need to know, and that was the first question I got asked, how is this going to save you money? This is financially not going to save money. So I need to know, do you want me to consider moving down this path the next 2 weeks, still trying to gather the information to present in hand to you at your May workshop for you to continue going down this path?
Thank you, Dr. Pickles. Mr. Daniels?
Madam Chair, I would recommend we just hold off altogether and table the entire issue, since in 2 weeks we'll be pretty much without a superintendent. I think we need to it would be more advisable for us to move forward when we have a little more stability. But without any leadership to help with the transition, I think that would be a major challenge.
No
And
comments from the audience.
And that's my position. These were long-term recommendations, and my position is, with all that's going on right now, we need to kind of pump the brakes a little bit on all major decisions, and just table the issue.
Mr. Alford?
In looking at the reconfiguration, I mean, we were on one hand looking at it for Greenville and helping them bring up their numbers to make them where they're more viable as a school.
Right.
And I do, I mean, again, I hear what the parents are saying about the 7th graders, but also on the next breath, we were hearing that the high school classes are under capacity, and it's not being cost effective from a teaching standpoint, and we're having a hard time finding teachers with certification on the middle school side, and we have them at the high school. I would like to know, like, some more information, just to see. I mean, it's not saying we're going to do it, but again, some more information, especially maybe for your outlying schools that can handle the capacity, if possibly that students could go back. Mr. Reeves, would there be an issue with if one school did have the capacity to have, say, 6th graders go back? Could that school possibly do that, or is it gonna have to be all or none?
Ordinarily, there's no, the board has the discretion to set up schools how it would like, and ordinarily, the board could say that one school could be K through 5 and one school K through 4, and, you know, all that. I know, and this has been years ago, when we did the reconfiguration of the schools in their present format, we did get the Office of Civil Rights in Atlanta came down and told us that we needed to keep them all the same. And I've told the board this several times, is that they were basing that on certain consent orders that were entered into between the district and the Office of Civil Rights years ago. And no one has copies of those consent decrees that we can find. So I can tell you that normally a district would be able to manage those schools how they want. There is certainly a question now in Madison because of, again, what we tried to do, and gosh, that's probably been 10, 15 years ago at this point. It was whenever we built the 3 new schools.
Over 20.
20, okay.
But we still need to be mindful of what we're doing to the central school, how we're lowering their numbers. We're putting them in the same situation as we're thinking about other schools, and my mindset, and is that fair? Because all of the kids are important. All of the kids throughout the whole district is important. We're gonna be taking students from the central school, and their numbers are gonna drop tremendously.
And again, I think we need to put all of it in perspective, everything in perspective. In 2 weeks, in case you didn't catch it, we also have our finance chief is also, last day will be in a couple of weeks as well. So we need to figure and factor all of that in as we make this decision. And all major decisions again.
I think I'll go back to what Dr. Pickles said about, from DOE, Ms. Pridgeon and Mr. Eggers will be getting back to you tomorrow with more information.
They said that would be the earliest they
That'd
could
be the
have me
earliest.
anything.
Okay. It was
So you
mentioned,
want to table this into the next meeting whenever the other information comes in from
I
DOE?
think I would be in favor of that. How does the board feel about that?
I mean, again, I'm realistic that we may not be able to do it this next year based upon what we're facing, but out of respect to the long-term committee who met,
Yes.
we don't just need to throw this out in the wind because that was their recommendations.
And you're right, Mr. Albert. We're just getting over, well, I don't know if we're actually over it, financial difficulties.
Right.
And we don't want to bring more into it right now, but we want to respect the long-term committee also.
I mean, they spent time in making these
They did.
recommendations, and they weren't. It wasn't just something they thought up, and I mean, they thought through this and had reasons behind it. And out of respect to them, I don't want to just say we're not doing that based upon the situation we have at hand. But again, we also need to keep in mind that whatever we do at one school, we're going to have to do at all schools.
Right. Is there a motion to proceed with this, gathering this information?
Do we need a motion, or we just table this until the next meeting after the information comes in?
I think you can do that by consensus of the board if you'd like. I think if any of the
That
board
would be-
members
that would be
don't
fine
agree with
with
that,
me.
you can make a motion to
I think
dispose of.
Dr. Pickles wanted a motion made. Is there a motion to proceed with this gathering of information?
I make the motion to proceed with the gathering of information to see as a fact finding
Okay.
where we need to go with better data on it. I mean,
We have a motion by Mr. Alfred, second.
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Williamson to proceed with the information. Any discussion or questions?
If we're gonna do this, I for the next year, I mean, I don't think it would be a good thing to do next year, probably the following year if this comes through.
By a show of hands, all in favor? Oppose? Becky, 4-1. All right. 5.6, curriculum-related items. Dr. Pickles?
Ms. Hill has the information for you.
Okay.
I just wanted to keep you updated on where we were with instructional materials. Mr. Alford had expressed support for making sure that all the schools had the instructional materials that they need for instruction. And so we have worked on next year and what we're looking at purchasing. And so I just wanted to just give you a brief update, nothing to vote on or anything, but we are looking at keeping the current print materials that we have, with the exception of the Curriculum Associates Ready books across the district. It varies about how much those are used, and so that's one of the things that we can certainly do without. There may be cases of certain grade levels that we decide to go back and specifically purchase for just that grade level, but overall that's not going to be a whole district purchase. We also are looking at keeping accelerated reader. If I put that in the reading allocation, we should be able to keep that. We should be able to keep Study Island. That was very important to the middle school teachers in the survey that I did, and so we should be able to keep that. We will keep iReady for grades at least K to 5, because that our district evaluations, teacher evaluations, are tied to that, and so we'd have to renegotiate with the union over that. Plus, it's used. There was no question on looking at the data that it is used regularly. We're sticking with Eureka Math, but we are going to get some training this summer, so I hope the teachers will feel more comfortable with that. Like I told you last time, our Journeys materials, most of those will be free this year, along with the College Board materials that we have for English 6 to 12. We do plan on keeping Top Score, the writing program that we have. We just won't be purchasing the print materials, but we will purchase teachers the digital portion, because that's what they use most of the time anyway. I think I can work it out where we could keep, the teachers were pretty adamant they wanted to keep a program called Vocabulary, which is it's used in the different content areas, and so I think we're going to be able to keep that too. So that's just a brief update on our instructional materials.
Thank you, Mrs. Hill. Any questions for Mrs. Hill?
No, I appreciate you keeping all that you've kept.
Okay.
I know that some people do not, with AR, and I know that's been a discussion in the past, and I'm happy that it's being kept, and thank you for doing what you did.
I am too. I notice when I go in the classrooms, the teachers are very excited about AR. They want to know if the book I'm using is an AR book. I mean, they use it. There's no doubt about it. 5.7 job description revision. Dr. Pickles?
We have a job description. Our parent facilitator and Ms. Roderick can answer some questions about it. We knew this past year they were already not going to fund it. She had to beg, plead, everything to get them to approve it. I believe it was about October, and they were saying they weren't going to fund it, and we were already a quarter way in the year. So we knew this year they were not going to fund that position. So we're looking at a renaming of a job description, adult education student attendance monitor. And Ms. Roderick will be happy to tell you some more, and she's going to seek additional funding sources for this position.
One of the things that the principals told me, we did a pre-planning meeting with the different funds, Title I and all of those, was attendance was an issue. So she went out this year quite a bit and did some attendance checking if a student had been absent. I believe Ms. Dixon, you sent her out probably the most for those that had missed more than a certain amount of days. And that seemed to help some with the attendance, so we thought we could keep her there. And then for the adult ed program, we're running it day and night now. So she can go in and kind of assist those teachers by getting it prepped in the morning, taking the attendance, making copies if they need it, kind of give them a helping hand, because in the morning we only have one teacher there. We still don't have a math teacher. In the evening we have the two, but it's also an extra person in the evening when you're walking out. So it also safety in groups. So she would have those duties Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday she would work on the truancy that the principals would send me each week.
Thank you for that information. Any questions?
Our second position is the continuous improvement model specialist. Currently, it's an administrative position, trying to reduce funding. We're going to take this back to an instructional position, which was less months, so a 12 to an 11-month position. So I do ask for that change, and it comes out of SAI. And we're continuing to watch our legislation for the next 18 days, now 17 days, to see what's going to happen with some bills. And so depending on that, they would work with any of our CDF schools.
Do we have a motion to approve the job description revision?
I make a motion to approve the job description revision.
We have a motion by Ms. Bell, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Alford to approve the job description revision. Any discussion or questions?
I have one question concerning the continuous improvement specialist. That doesn't need to be a master's degree.
Current job description doesn't have it as a master's degree.
I wonder if you're going in and telling people what they need to do. I mean,
The qualifications.
right.
Pull that up, just to confirm. I've seen so many job descriptions recently, just give me just a second.
I'm not doubting that it possibly is a bachelor's at this point. I just didn't know that it was a bachelor's. And if you are someone taking that role to tell people what to do, you wonder if possibly their qualifications should be a master's degree in their field that they're.
Good point.
It can be however the board so desires, if the board would like it to have that as
Or
a master's degree.
master's
change that
preferred,
Immediately make it a master's degree.
Would you say?
or add master's preferred.
You could add that, add master's preferred.
Is that the
How does that,
discretion of the board?
how does that?
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Preferred or required?
How does the board feel about it?
Preferred.
I
Or that it shouldn't be required. If you're
I
gonna
think so too,
be
Ms. Williamson.
telling people,
They should, the more education, the better, I'm sure, with that.
But what if you can't put someone in a position at the time with the master's and somebody doesn't?
I can't hear you unless you speak in the microphone, I'm sorry. Oh, well, excuse me, what
if you can't find no one at that time that has a master's, and if you have a preferred bachelor's that has a work experience,
excuse me. Go
that
ahead,
has
Ms.
has
Bell.
prior work experience in the same area, and they do have a bachelor's.
Well, we can advertise it with a master's, and if we can't find the right person, then you can maybe step down from that, That's a possibility.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Madam Chairman, if we advertise it as a master's and change it to a master's required, then I'll have to come back to the board and ask to change the job description. If I may suggest.
Okay.
We do it, we put it as a master's preferred, and if we have the higher applicant, scoring applicant has a master's, and you have it as preferred, then yes, fair labor practices will allow me to hire the one with the master's over the one with the bachelor's.
Okay. So master's preferred is what
That's my suggestion.
that's the suggestion. How does the board feel about that?
I think that's a good idea.
All right, we'll add that, master's preferred. All right,
Not yet.
We need to do a vote.
okay. We had a motion by Ms. Bell, second by Mr. Alford, to approve the job description revisions. By a show of hands,
Noted change.
with the noted change of master's preferred, okay. By a show of hands, all in favor? Oppose? Becky, 5-0. Monthly financial information, Mr. Copeland?
Good evening. How's everyone?
Hi, how are you?
Great. We have three items to go over tonight. Our March fiscal year-to-date financial summary, and then we included our fiscal year-end June 30, 18 financial audit that had been approved sometime back. I think we discussed some of the results and on that, but I'll go through it in a little more detail. Then there was a special attestation agreement the state auditor general had done here at the district, and I was not involved a whole lot in that, but it related to the FTE student enrollment and student transportation audit summary. We can summarize that real quick. But if we can just start with the March financial report, and y'all should have that package. Page 1 is just a quick financial narrative. And Isaac, do you want to go ahead and just bring that up, please? It's the bigger PDF. Just a real quick summary. We do have some budget amendments to the general fund that just need to get approved to kind of shore up things as we've looked at the actual fiscal year-to-date amounts through the end of March. And on the revenue side, we had budgeted an estimated amount for our best and brightest, and the award was more than we had budgeted, so we just need to drop an amendment in there for that. And also, we've seen an increase in our Medicaid reimbursements fiscal year to date through March over what we had budgeted. And so I am proposing a $22,000 budget amendment on that revenue line item also. Expenditures, we do have a total, our total proposed budget amendments to our expenditures are $53,894 increase. This is various items, and many of these items are moves between accounts. I really don't have to get a formal amendment done, but I like to just lay it all out there, and I have enclosed a detailed summary on that y'all can review at some point on pages, I think it's pages 2 and 3. So these are pretty standard items just to keep us shored up through the 9 months March. Real quick, at the bottom heading there, overall operating summary highlights, activity through March 2019. That's 9 months in our fiscal year, 75% of the year. Total revenues through March for the general fund are 77.76% of the revised budget, so we're running right in line. Total expenditures through March are 73.92% of the revised budget, and it should be a little lower than the 75% of the year that we're in because we have a heavier payroll in June with the contract payoffs. We're still projecting at this point, if everything stays in line with our revised budget and what we're forecasting through the rest of the year, we should finish up somewhere around 3.2% with our unrestricted portion of our general fund. And keep in mind, again, I can't promise you anything except that the actual results will not be 3.2%, but it should be close, and that's the best projection we have at this point. Go real quick to page 2 and 3 are just overkill on the budget amendments, but page 4 is the operating summary through March by function, and you'll see that on the expenditures, there are a few that were, if you look like it, instruction and curriculum, where expenditures year to date are 88.61% of the revised budget. Again, we're 75% of the year, so in a perfect world, we'd be 75% expended of our budget. The items on here that are higher than the 75% are mostly timing differences, meaning that on the instruction and curriculum, we did a lot of purchases earlier in the year. And so as we get towards the end of the year, that percentage should decrease and normalize over the next 4 months. And so, or 3 months, I'm sorry. But I don't foresee or see anything that's out of line. We'll continue as we move forward to identify things and budget amendments as we need to. So, y'all, again, I can print, and I'd be glad to, a detailed general ledger that shows all the expenditures that roll up into these lines. It's like 600 pages, so, but still, if you see an item you want to look at, we can carve it out pretty easily and identify it. So just
Thank you, Mr.
reach out to me should that happen. And then you'll see at the bottom again, we're just projecting through the end of the year, the 3.2% unrestricted fund balance. And the last portion of this is the supplementary information, which I had just provided a recap of the total month's check register, March 1 through March 31st. And I think y'all had probably received that in increments, but that'll give you the total. And that is the total for all funds. And it summarizes at the end of that report the total for each fund within the grand total. Mr. Reeves, do we need to just to get the budget amendments?
You're going to need to approve this.
Approve it? You want
We have a motion and a second.
All right.
We'll approve the whole thing.
Okay, gotcha. All right. I want to move on real quick. I'm going to summarize this quickly because y'all have the detailed audit report from the Auditor General for the fiscal year ending June 30th of 18. And real quick, I want to point out a couple of things. We did have a significant deficiency this year, and this will not be up there on the, but it's on page, it looks like page I of the audit report. And what that related to, I think we had relayed that already, or the auditors had relayed it to the board members. We had several employees in finance and HR and so forth that had more access to the Skyward accounting and finance software than is recommended. And keep in mind, this was the first year, beginning October of 17, that we implemented Skyward. So we did leave stuff a little bit loose because we just had to get things done. Talking with the auditors, it was an issue or an item in every single of the 14 districts that were implementing Skyward. It's not considered a material weakness, but it was pointed out. I've worked with Mr. Goyette and the rest of the team to correct these, and I feel like we'll be fine as we move through what now is an operational audit, which is on every 3-year cycle. So I feel like we've made the changes as needed. And, but I did want to point that out. And everything else being that we were going through the software implementation, a lot of staff turnover. I feel like we came out pretty well on our financial audit for the year ended June 30th. Real quick, I'll point out again, I've sent y'all, I've got a little breakdown of just the operating summary of the general fund. And we did keep in mind, it's interesting if you look at the revenues from, and we've pointed this out before, we got the FTE decrease that's kind of been a steady over the years, which affects our state funding. Our Medicaid reimbursements had been down last year, but keep in mind, fiscal year to date 18, they're back up. And also, in all that being said, again, we increased our unrestricted fund balance by $320,000 and some change this past fiscal year, which increased our unrestricted fund balance ratio from 4% to 5.5%. So I'm pleased that we did as well as we could. And so that, again, y'all have the audit report. It's boring. But if y'all have any questions, I'll be glad to get the answer or clarify them more.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Copeland? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Copeland.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to approve it. Do we have a motion to approve the March monthly financials?
I make the motion to approve the March monthly financials.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Alford, second by Ms. Williamson to approve the March monthly financials. Any discussion or questions?
And that includes the amendments set out in financials, right?
Including the amendments.
Yes, sir.
By a show of hands, all in favor? Oppose? 5-0, Becky. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Copeland.
y'all.
Public comment, non-agenda items. Mr. J. Lee.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Board. Appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to you this evening. I come to you asking your help, along with Dr. Pickles' help, to be able to correct a sore injustice that took place back in October. My dear sweet wife, who's never harmed a fly, was banned from all public schools and district-owned properties based on a lie, and was never given the opportunity to defend herself. She was taken from the school grounds by a deputy into the library, where she was told and met with another deputy and Dr. Pickles, and told that she was no longer allowed on school board property because she was a menace. And that broke my dear wife's heart. But not only that, it has devastated my children. Their mother, who has been a volunteer in this school system ever since our oldest child has been in school, she's helped out in classes. She's graded papers for teachers. We have, out of our own pocket each year, bought more than the requested supplies on the list for the teachers, and throughout the year have continued to support the teachers so that they could have what they need. My wife has been an asset to this district, and now my children have to ask why their mother is not allowed to come to their graduation. My daughter graduates this year from 8th grade. She's not allowed to attend. My other kids, they have different functions, especially this time of year. She's not allowed to attend for fear of being arrested. All I ask is that you show her some compassion and encourage and support Dr. Pickles so that she can be able to lift this ban, so that my wife can be able to continue to support her children, continue to go to the schools, and also reinstate her as a volunteer so she can do what she loves to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Miss Jennifer McLeod.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jennifer McLeod. I am a Madison County native here. I did most of my schooling here until 2002 when I moved to Georgia. My education as a youth was supported with the likes of some of the best teachers you could imagine. If there's one thing everyone in this room can actually agree on, it's that this town breeds and bleeds excellence. We'd be here all night if I even began to attempt to mention any of Madison County's achievements. 2 years ago, I moved me and my 3 kids back home. Since their second day of school, I have worked with the school staff due to my child's behavior. And mind you, we came from Valdosta City schools. Valdosta City had no solution for my wild card child. I spent many a days picking him up, working full-time around his modified schedule, and adhering to his disciplinary actions and outcomes, as I still do to this day. I used to be a hopeless mom, and I'd be a lie if I said that some days I'm still not. I'm here today to compliment and to say, although it may be a day late and it's several short, my hopelessness has turned hopeful. The Madison County school staff has been great with helping me find what fits best for my child, especially the ESE team. When I moved here, my son got the help he needed. It didn't happen overnight, and then 2 years later, after many back to the drawing board moments, we are making progress with him. He is becoming the successful young man that I feared he would never grow into. I've been on the front line with the whole school, let alone just the ESE staff. I've been in the front office. I've been in the classrooms. Every single person that's employed at that school is a key player, from the rooter to the tutor, front to the back, every single part of it. They each have bonds with each student that cannot be matched, like my own educational experience here in Madison. The teamwork displayed within the workers, no matter their position, is incredible. I commend each faculty member for their commitment to the children of Madison County Central School. And I also commend them on their will to fight and not take flight. I am forever grateful for what they have done for my children, and I really can't wait to see what becomes of the seeds that they have sown into them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. McLeod. Mr. Justice, Jason Justice.
Good evening. I want to start to say I've lost more sleep over the last 2.5 years over our school system than I have my own church I pastor, because I love this place. I wasn't born here, Madam Chair. I wasn't raised here, but I became a part of something special, Madison County. My family loves it. My wife looks at it as a hallmark moment. Christmas time, the family flea market or flea, what happens downtown. Our family has grown to love it. But over the last 3 years, I have seen something happen to this school board, our district, that is very troubling. I've seen a body who I believe can be an amazing board, an amazing district. I have seen the attack of the enemy coming down on this district. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against rulers and against authorities, against the cosmic powers, present darkness, against spiritual forces of evil in heavenly places. I am not calling you a demon. I want you to understand that right now. And I'm not calling nobody in this area a demon. But what I'm saying is, I believe we are under a spiritual attack on this district. And to you, Madam Chair, it's not fair. And I believe what we need to do in this city and on this board, and Dr. Pickles, as long as you're here, then the next one comes. I really believe we need to get together and we really need to seek God's face for who we need to be as a county. And I say that out of all due respect. The last 2 nights I have laid awake, boiling mad because things I have seen on this board, things that I have seen in our school system happen. People be cut off when they're trying to talk. The way things have happened. I can't look at my children and say, look at this and be like this. But tonight, I want to challenge this board out of all love, and I mean that. Genesis 11 chapter verse 6 says, the Lord said we have to come down because they are one. And now nothing that they do will be withheld from them. If we can become one under God, family and faith, because we are family, you and you, nothing can withhold this amazing county from being who we want to be.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gwen Hubbard. Yeah, Ms. Gwen Hubbard.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're coming.
Good evening. On last Saturday morning at the ungodly hour of 6:30 a.m. on Saturday, 43 Madison County School District students boarded the bus for a board-approved field trip to Florida A&M University 6th Annual STEM Day. It was sponsored by the Madison County FAMU Alumni Chapter and the New Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. I wanted to thank the board for allowing us to use board school bus to transport those kids. And I brought a copy of the program agenda to share with you to show that this was indeed a worthwhile adventure for our students. Upon arrival at the Florida A&M University campus, the students were greeted by student leaders. They were each given a Florida A&M University STEM Day t-shirt and a very sturdy, good book backpack. They were provided breakfast. Then they were divided up into groups, and that was the experience for them of a college life. They were not together. So they met students. There were over 1,000 students there. They met students from all over Florida and parts of Georgia. They participated in workshops with college professors in the STEM areas. They were treated to lunch, and then everybody gathered at the end in the gym for a college expo, where they were given an opportunity to visit booths and exhibits in all of the STEM areas provided by Florida A&M University. And again, I would just like to say thank you to the board. This is FAMU's 6th STEM Day, and I hope that you all will continue to support the Florida Madison County chapter of FAMU alumni in this endeavor. Mr. Travis Jones is our president, and he also served as our bus driver. And this is a copy of the agenda for each of you.
Thank you.
And I also like to add that there were two young ladies who are seniors, and they got off the bus for the grad bash and boarded the bus with us. Of course, they slept there and coming back, but I think they enjoyed the opportunity. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hubbard. Mr. Jones, did you have anything to add to that? No. Okay, Mr. George Williams.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Matthew 12 and 25 tells us, a house divided against itself cannot stand and will end in desolation. Every house in every city that is divided cannot stand. I have seen some great things happen in our district in the past couple of years, and namely one that was very important to me was to get the central school from that low grade and have it rise to a grade that's acceptable to the community and the parents and the standards of this community. With Dr. Pickle's leadership, that did happen. With her staff, it did happen. We were able to get that low grade at the central school moved up. And it seems from that point, things began to go downhill. I am very much concerned that if there is not a real consideration about this board unifying itself and working hand in hand with whoever the next superintendent will be, that our troubles are only going to get worse. I can only say this. It is amazing to me that you have asked time and time again for direction as it relates to DOE and their idea or their directives as it relates to the school refiguration or configuration that you so desire to do. And once again, tonight you're left with no decision. It perplexes me that you're left with no decision, because people have to plan for their kids, they have to plan for whatever school zones they may be in, and you have to plan to make sure that your system is accessible and ready for such a change. While I do agree with Mr. Daniels that it seems critical that you don't make a decision in the midst of this leadership change, I think he's absolutely right about that. But time is running out, ladies and gentlemen. And I've seen this board too long go through being indecisive on very important issues. It's about time you all make up your minds whether you want to do this or not.
Excuse me, no comments, or we will shut the meeting down.
It is important that that happen. Too many lives are hanging in the balance, waiting for 5 people to make a decision. Our community needs strong board members who are going to do what's best for our kids.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
And for our community.
Miss Marsha Webb. I'm sorry. They can't hear me. Miss Webb. Well, I've done everything I can do. I'm talking right into the microphone. I know. I'm sorry. I don't know if that works.
I am sure all of you know me, but for those that are here tonight and for those listening that don't know me, my name is Marsha Webb. I am the mother of Lori Newman, the district's ESE director. Lori doesn't need me to stand up here for her. George and I have raised her to be a very strong, independent woman. But I stand here because I am a mom. I am Lori's mom, and I have bit my tongue long enough. For those that don't know, Mr. Alford has a personal vendetta against my daughter for some time now. Why do you think the ESE department and the children serviced by that department has been under such an attack? In January, it came to our attention that during planning meetings, he specifically named Lori and several others that he wanted fired, and he wanted them at the top of the hit list. Do you know whose name ended up being at the top of that hit list? Your ESE director. That's targeting. The purpose of this board is to make policy. However, Mr. Alford and several of you took over the superintendent's job and named approximately 20 positions to be fired, to be demoted with hours cut, and their pay cut. Lori was one of those to be demoted with a cut in pay. even though it had no effect on the general fund. After investigation by several agencies, including the Attorney General and the Department of Education, Mr. Alford continues to promote the idea that an error was made in his Social Security number in 2012, and that was a fault of my daughter, and it was in an attempt to steal his Social Security number. When in fact, she was working at the Central School as a staffing specialist at that time. This is harassment and slander. The definition of a workplace bully is defined as an aggressive person who strikes out to a particular person more than once over the course of months. This board approves and promotes anti-bullying in our schools, but I'm finding we have a lot of bullies on this board. You have managed to put employee morale at an all-time low. And if we took a vote of confidence, I'm sure you'd be disappointed with what the citizens of this county says. Enough is enough. Mr. Alford, you need to understand there's going to be legal consequences if you don't stop this mistreatment of my daughter.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Excuse me? We will not continue meetings with that. I'm sorry. Miss Bailey?
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share my perspective with you. I've been employed in education for 26 years. I started in 1992 as a para, working at Lee Junior High School, then had the opportunity to work at Pinetta Junior High School, Lee Elementary School, 2 private schools, and Madison County Central School, Greenville Elementary School, and Madison Creative Arts Academy. I feel as though I am currently teaching at Madison County Central School. I'm a teacher who loves my job. My husband prefers for me to love my job so that he can enjoy living with me. I'm proud to say that I've had the privilege to teach all of my children. In fact, my children to this day are praying about their children's education. As a grandmother, J-Ma is what they call me, I've been asked to retire early and homeschool my grandchildren. Having experienced the camaraderie, fun-loving, high level of rigor at all the outlying schools, plus the academy, I would beg for you to read the rubric that I've given you. This is an ELA rubric. I encourage you to highlight it, mark on it, do exactly what we expect from our students, analyze that rubric, and do not come to Madison County Central School until you are comfortable with this rubric and the academic language that comes from this rubric. I encourage you to go to our school, walk the halls, sit in the classrooms of every grade level, sit in the AP's conference while they're conferencing with our students. We are allowed to teach this year. We have administration that allows us to teach. When they see gaps, I am a child psychiatry major. I had a great mentor at VSU, Marjorie White, and she, at any rate, I'm not going off on my tangent. Let me stick to the script. I'm sorry. So all of us have gaps of some sort. Our administration is honest with us. They teach us, they drill us. We're better teachers for what they have done for us. Please sit in the classrooms, in the conferences. Our APs are incredible. We cannot lose our staff. It takes every bit of our staff. We are right now at the at the beginning of our foundation where we can grow. We can be just like these fantastic outline schools and the Creative Arts Academy. We have that in us, but we need to build. Please don't reconfigure us.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Mrs. Dixon? I know you couldn't hear. Mrs. Dixon? I don't think Mrs. Dixon heard. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kim Dixon, and I'm the proud principal at Madison County Central School. Just want to tell you a little bit of story. I started at Central June 25th was my first day. I was here a year ago, March. My husband and I were here in Madison. We came this way from North Carolina because he felt called of God to come serve here. I was 2 years away from full retirement in North Carolina. I looked at my husband, I said, you need to go back and talk to God. Because I don't know if I'm ready. But my husband and I, we've been married 34 years, have always followed the verse in referencing in Ruth about wherever you go, I will go, and the God you serve, I will serve. So it just so happened when he was interviewing in March, the interview came up for Central in March. And so I thought, I'm in town anyway with my husband, what do I have to lose? So I signed up to interview and really not thinking I had a whole lot of chance, but then was offered the job. But I will tell you by members of the community that we met prior to coming to Madison County, I was told not to go to Central. People said, don't go. It's a mistake, don't go. I felt led to go. I'm sure with my experience, I could have gone to Valdosta and found something too. But I'm just here to tell you that Central is an awesome school. We're served by 3 awesome assistant principals. I think 2 are here tonight that I saw. Mr. Rod Williams and Miss Yolanda Davis. And the teachers, as Miss Bailey said, are a team. I don't know if you follow Mr. Williams on Facebook, but he posted, we are having difficulty with bus drivers, and we're having about 5 to 6 buses that we don't have drivers for each day. So we're waiting approximately an hour after school to 4 o'clock to get the last child on the bus. Mr. Williams posted a picture of one of our teachers holding one of it, looked like a pre-K student, who was asleep on her shoulder, waiting for the bus to come. That is what Central is all about. Yes, we've been working on rigor. We know that rigor is an issue. We're focusing on K2 rigor. I told Dr. Pickles when I came, she asked me what were my 2 objectives. They were to improve the rigor in K2 and to focus on discipline to provide a more positive climate for our students. Our discipline referrals are down tremendously, and that's due to this staff. So I just want to tell them thank you very much, and thank you for being supportive of Central.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. Superintendents, Dr. Pickles.
Miss Roderick applied for an Amazon grant, and she did receive it. So it's the Amazon Future Engineer Partnership. So for the 1920 school year, so she did receive that to teach introductory and AP computer science courses. So she will be bringing more information about that to you. I'd also wanted to go ahead and let you know there was a incident with the high school field trip today. Everybody seems to be okay. The last student was picked up, and the parent was taking that child to be checked out as a precautionary. So as I hear more, I will try to let you know. But everybody, I think it was everybody more scared.
Where did it occur?
At the aquarium. A lot of water, a lot of choking, coughing, sore throats. So, but everybody's being checked out. So,
In Atlanta?
no, that one's not. No, that's it. Yeah, that's Miss Phillips took the field trip over to Tallahassee. They were collecting specimens, and I think it was more of a panic situation. So, lastly, Mr. Copeland and I will be meeting with DOE staff Thursday regarding some transitions, since he and I will both be leaving on the 30th. I need to find out, does the board wish to go ahead and advertise for a CFO position? He and I also talked about a possible, do you want to talk to another district about doing some shared resources? I know that some of our districts to the east, some of our NEFAC districts use Skyward. So that's another possible consideration you could do. You're not going to find somebody right off, you're not going to find a CFO right away and then somebody that understands Skyward. So yes, you might be able to find a CFO, CPA, but understanding the Skyward side. So that's another option for you to consider, is trying to partner, do some shared resources with one of our neighboring districts, NEFAC districts. So you may want to consider that. If you want to advertise, we can go ahead and advertise.
I like the idea of the shared. You and I talked about that earlier. Excuse me. How does the board feel about that?
I also agreed with the shared. I spoke with Miss Andrea Messina this afternoon, and she has stated that the Florida School Board Association and the Florida Superintendents Association will help in this transition in helping us to find someone for this. So I think the shared is a good idea, and we have the assistance through FADS and through the Florida School Board Association.
So we'll be getting the support with them. Okay. All right, school board members, Ms. Williamson.
I think this is the last meeting for Mr. Copeland and Dr. Pickles, and I want to thank you for your service and wish you well in your endeavors that you will pursue.
Ms. Bell.
I want to say, as we receive more information on the information for our district, I want us to focus on all of the children in the county, and not just one area. And I want to thank Mr. Copeland for all of his hard work. I hadn't even put you a bed here at the district office because of how long of hours you stayed here. I appreciate all the hard work and all the information that you have gathered for us. I want to thank Dr. Pickles because she focused on all the kids. She continually focused on all the kids, and I want to tell her I appreciate that.
Mr. Alford.
Yes, ma'am. I would like to also thank Dr. Pickles for her time and service, and wish her well, and look forward to working with whomever the governor appoints as the next superintendent. I also would like to thank Mr. Copeland for his time and his efforts to try to provide us what we needed in what we went through from January to this date. And I'm appreciative of both.
Mr. Daniels.
First of all, I'd like to thank all of the volunteers who worked so diligently with the students on the STEM field day at FAMU. And also, I'm excited about the Amazon project or program that will be implemented coming up. And I also compliment the central staff for a wonderful job. I think I mentioned in the last meeting that I had a chance to ride one of those school buses, and again, it was a very challenging trip. The driver that I rode with had two routes, so we went and dropped off a bunch. And I asked him where we were going. He's saying back to Central. I almost fell out. but the staff is you know, is tremendous at Central. From the, you know, just everybody, the principals, the paras, the teachers, the janitors, everybody that makes up that school is wonderful staff. And I want to encourage everybody because I'm optimistic. I know, you know, it's easy to focus on the negative and what's not going right and what's not looking good, but I'm optimistic about this district. I still believe in my heart of hearts that everything's going to be all right. Yes. And we live in a wonderful community. And I think through, you know, perseverance, prayer, and we coming together as we always do in this county, I think everything is gonna be all right. And on that note, I wanted to definitely thank Dr. Pickles, Mr. Copeland, for your service as well. I know we haven't always, you know, been on the same page on everything, but then there were some things that we did agree on, and I just wish you all well in the next chapter of your lives, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I thank you for all that you have done, and I wish you nothing less than the best in the next chapter of your life.
Thank you. I'd like to wish Dr. Pickles and Mr. Copeland well in their future endeavor. I'd like to thank both of them for their contributions, and I know they'll be successful wherever they go from here. The Madison School Board looks forward to working with whoever the governor appoints. I'm positive that the work of the district will continue. We have an amazing staff and community members. The school board is committed to the students, the staff, and the community, and we will make sure the continuation of services is guaranteed. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Alford, second by Ms. Williamson. Meeting is adjourned.